Hello everyone. In this topic, we are going to discuss about baking and types of ovens used in baking. Many food service operations rely heavily on the versatility of ovens. Operators can cook varieties of foods in large quantities with a single appliance. As a result of their versatility, ovens are the most widely used appliance in the food service industry. An oven can be described as a fully enclosed and insulated chamber used to heat food. After going through this session, we will be able to explicit on the concept involved in the baking systems in the bakery industry and learn the importance of the need of types of oven. In most bakeries, ovens are the most conspicuous and characteristic pieces of equipment. With their associated loaders, unloaders, coolers and conveyors, they dominate the layout and determine a large part of arrangement and location of other pieces of machinery. Baking is also the operation that limits output in most plants. For this reason, selecting the oven, maintaining it properly and operating it at the maximum rate consisting with good quality are key elements in the successful management of a bakery. The oven has an important influence on product quality. It cannot compensate for all the errors committed earlier in the processing sequence, but a well-controlled oven of the proper design can bring out the full potential of a well-processed dough piece. The factors of design and operation that govern an oven's effectiveness and optimize product quality are not completely accessible to scientific analysis. The mechanical details of oven construction are important in that they are related to labor requirements, efficiency of fuel utilization, frequency of product damage and sanitation. The effects of heat by conduction, convection and radiation, but the differences in percentage of heat transferred by each method during each stage of baking determine the variation in baking results in different ovens. Let us see in detail about the types of ovens. There are many ways of classifying ovens, and each of the ways has some value for a specific purpose. The two major categories used in this section are retailer ovens and the wholesaler ovens. The heat transfer mechanism in ovens are very important, and heat may be generated within a mass such as a piece of dough by radiation, friction through work or chemical reaction. The relative effectiveness of each of these mechanisms varies with design as well as with the conformation of the dough pieces, the size, shape and construction materials of the container or pan, and the distribution of the dough pieces on the hearth. Let us discuss about the radiation mechanisms. So here the only types of radiation that are significant in baking are microwave radiation and infrared radiation. Transfer of heat by infrared radiation is a significant factor in most ovens. These radiations are not in themselves heat but are converted into heat through absorption and interaction with absorbing molecules. Radiation has two characteristics that makes its action different from the other means of heat transfer. Number one, it is subjected to or blocking or shadowing by intervening substances that are opaque to radiation. The second one, it is very responsive to changes in absorptive capacity of the dough. Radiant energy comes from the burner flames and all hot metal parts in the ovens. It is not necessary that the oven part be red hot or otherwise visibly heated for it to radiate infrared rays. This radiant energy travels in a straight line and much of it never reaches the dough and the dough piece because the rays are intercepted by some substances that is not transparent to the radiation. Shadowing or blocking out of radiation by some intervening materials can occur from pan walls, parts of the oven, or parts of the dough pieces. Let us discuss about the convection mechanism that takes place in ovens. Convection is the transfer of heat from one part to another within the volume of gas or liquid by the gross physical mixing of one part of the fluid with the other part. In the oven chamber, molecules of air, gases, water vapor or combustion gases heated by whatever means circulate throughout the oven, constantly mixing with the other gases and transferring heat by conduction when they come in contact with solid surfaces. Within the dough piece, convection there is more translocation of water, melted shortening and other liquids can cause a transfer of heat from one region of the dough to the other. If the overall results of convection can be generalized, it would be as a smoothing or evening effect on the heat distribution. Microwave systems are the basis of radar ovens used in homes and restaurants for rapid heating of many foodstuffs. They can be very efficient because the oven cavity need not be held at a very high temperature and therefore does not leak large amounts of energy to the environment as do conventional ovens. A very significant problem with microwave baking is that it does not contribute much to crust coloration and crust dehydration. Another problem is finding a cooking container that does not react with the radiation. Many inventors have proposed combining microwave heating with conventional baking or irradiating with infrared rays to give products with browned, firmed crust and uniform textured interior. Dielectric heating has been used to apply a final drying step to cookies, crackers, etc. and it is said to be used commercially in Europe for reducing moisture in baked products below 4%. Discussing about the retailer ovens are used as batch type ovens such as deck ovens, reel ovens, rack ovens and rotating hearth ovens. There are a few models of small continuous band ovens suitable for baking at individual outlets and as pizzerias. The first one of its kind is deck oven, where they are often found in small retail bakery operations and at one time they were practically used the only type of oven found in pizzerias. They are not particularly energy efficient and occupy a lot of floor space per unit of product baked. Bakers find them difficult to charge and empty, and the first row in, last row out feature of the large models where only one row is baked at a time. Since there is no transport facilities, these ovens were considered to be cheaper and easier to maintain than a reel or a rotary oven. Heat distribution within this oven varieties varies with time and with location of the hearth. Speaking about the design of the baking chamber of this type of ovens, it owes too much to the old coal-fired ovens, even though most modern deck ovens are heated by electricity or gas. The relatively small height of baking chamber, about 7 to 16 inches, is not suitable for some products, but is of course no impediment when making pizzas, rolls, most hearth breads, etc. Space utilization can be improved by stacking these ovens, but the lowest and the highest decks then become even more awkward to load. When the advantages and the disadvantages of these ovens are examined, it becomes clear that they are not suitable for any kind of efficient quantity production operations. They still have a small place in pizzerias and other restaurants and in small specialty bake shops. Discussing about the real ovens, the baking chamber of a real oven is also called a revolving tray oven and is an approximately cubic compartment 6 or 7 feet high. This insulated enclosure has a door in front almost to the width of the oven, but usually less than a foot high. Inside the chamber is a ferry wheel type of mechanism that moves 4 to 8 shelves in a circle centered on the sides of the oven, so that each shelf is brought past the door during every rotation. An indicator on the front of the oven identifies the shelf which is passing the door at any given time, so the operator can stop the rotation and add pans to or remove them from specific shelves. The door will either open outward on the bottom hinge or slide upward in a counterbalanced arrangement. Ovens specialized in size and other construction features for cookies, rolls, pies, etc. are also available. Let us discuss about rotary rack ovens. A rack oven is a large oven into which entire racks or full sheet pans which can be wheeled for baking. Normal baker's racks may hold from 8 to 24 full sheet pans, but racks made specifically which has to fit into the rack ovens usually holds about 15 to 20 pans. Rack ovens hold 1 to 4 of these racks at a single hold. They are equipped with steam injectors. It is a cabinet which has a trolley with baking trays, and when the trolley is put into the cabinet with filled trays which has to be baked, the trolley rotates and ensures that all the products are evenly baked at the same time. Rotary rack ovens are excellent for large scale production, and it can be worked with the help of a gas or electricity. Discussing about convection type ovens, the convection ovens are also called as forced convection ovens. They are shelf ovens that have been fitted with high capacity fans for moving strong currents of hot air through the chamber. Some of the specifications applied to a 28 tray convection oven is that a non-rotating carriage where the trays are transported on a carriage. The oven is furnished with 2 of these carriages so that one can be loaded or unloaded while the other would be baking. Surface area of the 28 trays is about 50 square feet. A window in the door of the oven allows constant inspection of the interior ones. 2 reversible centrifugal turbines driven by 2 HP motors provides the convection air. An automatic programmer or timer can be used to reverse the operating direction of the turbines so that uniformity of heat distribution can be increased. When the door is opened, heat and the air are turned off. Oven temperatures can be increased at the rate of about 20 degree Fahrenheit per minute, and gas or electrical heating can be specified. Optional accessories may include humidifier, iron vapor lamp, low voltage control and stainless steel carriage. Now let us see about the wholesaler ovens. Manufacturers designing and building of a good baking oven must take into following considerations which are very essential. Application of heat which has to be applied for best efficiency by insulation heat, method of control of required heat applied, and flexibility of the oven to bake a variety of products with construction, and the overall ease of operation and maintenance of the baking unit. Finally, the ability to bake the most desired products in the most efficient manner are to be considered. Discussing about the heat transfer systems, the 2 main types of heating systems for modern large-scale ovens are ribbon burners in the baking chamber and the combustion chambers outside the oven. Ribbon burners are placed about 2 feet apart, while the recirculating ovens have a heating unit about 50 feet. Open flame and surface combustion are used where the former type is commonly used. Several burner designs have been developed to obtain maximum safety and accurate control of the heat sources within the oven. The open inspiratory system uses gas at 1 to 5 psi per gram and mixes it with room air drawn into the inspiratory by the Venturi effect. Smaller particles pass through the jets and the burnt without causing any problem, whereas large particles that might clog the burner can be entrapped by filters fitted over the intakes to the inspiratory. A modification of the zone proportional system mixes air and gas in a proper ratio at each burner. A zero pressure gas line and low pressure air line is led into each burner, and there is separate proportional mixer and gas valve for each burner. Gas and air for all the burners in an oven are pre-mixed in an oven in a special device in the pre-mixed gas systems. Steam can be used to transfer heat from the combustion chamber to the baking tunnel. In one steam system, metal tubes sealed at both the ends and partially filled with water or some other suitable liquid extend from the firebox into the oven. Discussing about the zone control in ovens, although sequential application of different temperatures might be applied in convection ovens without moving the dough piece, and is even done sometimes in homemaking, in which it is difficult to implement in ovens where the product remains stationary. The dough is carried through a tunnel that is partitioned off into chambers. It is easy to apply different temperatures as well as different top and bottom heating conditions at different points in the baking process. Let us see about the types of wholesaler ovens, the first one being travelling hearth ovens. In tunnel or travelling hearth ovens, the baking hearth is made of steel segments that move through the baking chamber on conveying chains. Loading and discharging are at opposite ends of the tunnel. Straps, individual pans, and even unpanned dough pieces can be placed on the hearth. Because the baking surface is not divided into relatively small components as in the travelling tray oven, it is more flexible in the size of the pans it can accept and is often more efficient in capacity, especially where several sizes of straps are utilized. Let us discuss about the travelling tray ovens, where the travelling tray ovens are more efficient than the real ovens in space utilization. Further, they do not require high ceilings. Each tray is permanently fixed to a conveyor chain and holds several pans on straps. Trays are pulled by the chains from front to back of the oven, then moved to lower track, so baking can continue on the return trip to the front where they are unloaded. Small size travelling tray ovens may be operated as batch or as multi-cycle equipment. After the oven is loaded, the pans are permitted to make 2 or more round trips before they are unloaded. In longer ovens, the travel time is required for one complete cycle, which is sufficient to complete the baking, and so the oven can be operated continuously, allowing automatic loaders and unrollers to be used. By making the trays go through the oven 2 times in one baking cycle, approximately twice as much capacity can be obtained in the same floor space. The shell of a travelling tray oven will consist of a steel frame resting on a level concrete foundation and supporting the steel lining sheets that form a rectangular baking chamber. Expansion joints allow the lining to expand and contract as the temperature changes without affecting the outer shell. A horizontal baffle divides the baking chamber into upper and lower compartments, and the ovens are also divided into zones along its length and allow a sequence of different temperatures. The insulation is covered and concealed by exterior finish sheets, which are usually enameled. Rows of direct gas fired burners extend into the oven's cavity below and above the tray conveyor. They are arranged in groups to form control zones for regulating temperatures in different parts of the oven. Every zone has a separate air and gas supply, a modulating temperature controller, and a group of burners. Each burner has an inspiratory in which gas at about atmospheric pressure and air is combined. Ignition can also be made continuous in this type of ovens. Class of ovens are the band ovens, which is continuous steel belt that forms the baking surface and which turns around two large metal drums, one at each end of the oven. Because there is no need for elaborate transfer mechanisms, the baking chamber itself can be restricted in volume to almost the minimum theoretical space required to hold the product and the hearth, so that heat control is simplified and heat loss is reduced. All the bands can be used as hearths for baking most kinds of bakery products, and as supporting surfaces for pans. Their greatest utility has been used for crackers and cookies. Baking surfaces can be solid steel bands, perforated steel bands, or wire mesh bands. The unbaked dough or batter is either deposited directly on the oven or formed auxiliary and then transferred to the band by conveyors. Conveyorized proofing and baking system is also included in a bakery. The basic principle of the conveyorized proofing and baking method is that the pans containing the dough circulate continuously through the panning, proofing, baking, and depanning operations without the need of human intervention for handling or timing in the continuous system. Pans move from panner through proofer and the oven without stopping and while attached to the same endless conveyor. In the conventional processing, the pans would be handled individually and would be stationary at some points in their progress through the operations. The newer technique method greatly reduces the complexity of the equipment needed to handle the pans. Let us summarize whatever we have discussed in this topic. Ovens are often termed as the heart of the bakery. Oven has significant influence on the baked product quality. Two categories of ovens, namely retailer ovens and wholesaler ovens, are present. Heat may be generated within the oven by convection, conduction, and radiation. The type of radiation mechanisms include microwave radiation and infrared radiation. Retailer ovens are batch type ovens classified into deck ovens, reel ovens, rack ovens, and forced convection ovens. In wholesaler ovens, the type of heat transfer systems used for large scale ovens are ribbon burners and combustion chambers. The type of wholesaler ovens are travelling hearth ovens, travelling tray ovens, and band ovens. Thus, from this discussion, we find that ovens are essential in a bakery and the final product quality depends largely on the proper functioning of ovens. Thank you.